guys, how you going? So today on Big House Sport, we are back here for another TM Maker video. You guys know this is some of my favorite videos on the channel every single year. I really do look forward to it because it gets me back into the NRL mindset. Throughout the off-season, you've got, Premier League, we've had the FIFA World Cup this time, we've had cricket, all the likes, even though we've already obviously flogged the South Africans. You move off the NRL for a little bit just to kind of have a bit of a relax. But now we're full on back into it, son. We are ready to rock and roll. And in the TM Makers, if you haven't been seeing them already, we've been doing them for about a couple of weeks now. If you haven't been seeing them, we go through every single player in every single position and rank them from elite, quality, do the job, not that great, and unproven. We'll get to a few of the disclaimers in a second there for if you are a player. Look, it's a good series where we get to put ourselves back into that mindset. We get to talk some footy and also give our opinions on what players are looking like going into the 2023 season. Obviously, it is all going to be opinion-based. And like I said, we do every single position. Today, guys, we are going to be doing the halfback position, which is a really integral part of the spine. Some people say it is the most important. Obviously, other people say maybe the hooker. But the halfback is so integral in regards to the kicking and the direction of the play. And I'm really looking forward to kind of deciphering where these guys are going to sit. That's not just myself, though, because if it's just myself, well, then my dear and me, we're just going to be putting the Titans players at the top every single time. I need to have a little bit of contrasting opinions to go against it. Today, we've got SportshedTV, content creators that are going to be actually putting on the charity event that I am involved in this week, actually, on Saturday, the 25th of February. Big fella, SportshedTV, how we doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Not too bad, man. I'm looking forward to this big charity event this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be massive. We've got 40 content creators, 20 on each team, raising money for 2 charities. It's going to be a massive event. We've sold a fair few tickets as well, so I'm keen to be a part of it.
Absolutely, man.
Hopefully the first of many.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Should be ripping. So if you guys want to get your tickets, we're actually going to put the link to the tickets in the pinned comment. It is at Lidcombe Oval, 25th of February. Really keen for it. It's only $10. You may as well get down to it. But man, obviously, let everyone know kind of what you do and in the NRL space, what you guys do with the content.
Yep. So my name is Norman. I've got Josh and Adrian, my 2 mates, and together we're on SportshedTV. And we just started off in May last year, and we just wanted to basically bring fan TV content to sport here in Australia. We thought, everyone here in Australia loves their sport, but we don't get much, raw reactions out of fans after the games. It's all the typical media questions and some crappy interviews from someone at Channel 9 or Channel 7.
Those interviews, man. I hate them.
Pre or post game. So yeah, we just thought we'll start interviewing fans, and then we're connected with a couple of the players and spoke to a couple of players, via Instagram DMs or even face to face. And they said, yeah, speak to us after the game. So it's taken off from there, interviewing fans, interviewing players. And then, we like all our sports. So yeah, I've got a cricket shirt on here, Big Bash as well. We've done a bit of Big Bash content. So just loving getting everyone's raw reaction from sport.
Mate, you gotta love it, man. Obviously, I'm the exact same. I'm all about live your passion. I'm always getting out to the games. I'm always encouraging active support and people, just loving the whatever sport it is, whether it be rugby league or football, rugby union, cricket, American sports, everything. I'm always getting amongst it, and I love that there are other people out there who have that same passion in the sport as I do that can, obviously grow this Australian community, and specifically in this rugby league community, and with this charity match that we obviously have spoken about, it does bring everyone together. And although we may not have the size of like a Sidemen or whatnot, it does bring everyone who does have that passion to have a good time and advertise the great game that we do love to watch and what we're going to be speaking about today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are a few features there. Like, obviously, we want to bring everyone together. We want to raise money for charity, and we want to strengthen the community. So it's a great networking event for all of us content creators to actually get together and do something, which I feel like we lack here in Australia, as you were kind of touching on there. So we've got some, great people, some people who are quite big in the industry, including yourself. So it's amazing to have everyone on board from, some of the smaller pages like ourselves who are recently, just starting off, I'd say. And then everyone else who's quite bigger as well. To get that all together and play a game of footy, it'll be a spectacle.
Guys, we do have to get into the video because we're probably going to be here for over an hour. If you guys have seen the ones already, we went for 2.5 hours or 2 hours for the front rowers, so we better get cracking. So, disclaimer, the way that it goes here, guys, is that we're going to go through every single halfback, plus also ones that are on the brink. We do actually have a couple here that probably won't be in this position. However, there is still an up and down thought process where they could be playing there, so we may as well rank them based on the fact that it is still a potential. We've got elite quality to the job, not that great and unproven, which we have to put at least one in every single category. And trust me, it just always is the case. There is always going to be one everywhere. Disclaimer for players out there, when we put you in not that great, it is a motivation thing for you, man, because we're very well aware that you're better than us. You can smash me on the field. It just is what it is. You're a professional player. However, in comparison to other players, I do feel like it is fair that we can criticize and we can say that just in comparison to somebody else, you're not as good as them at the moment. But you can do that because you're in the NRL, so you're in the rugby league professional player. It gives you the opportunity because we know you can do it. So yeah, just take it as motivation and say, listen, screw those guys. We're going to go romp it in, and then you can tell us later that we were wrong. Good on you. I look forward to it. I hope you do it. I really do. Also, for the people, please understand this is our opinions. Jump into the comment section. Let us know your opinions. I'm looking forward to it. Really keen to see your opinions as well. But this is my and Norman's opinion here as a collective, and hopefully we have to get a bit of chat going. But are you ready to get going, man?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So, guys, don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get ready to rock and roll. So, first up here, we do have a big one, actually, and I guess I'm going to say it quite a lot here. But we've got Adam Reynolds here from the Brisbane Broncos. What are your thoughts on Adam Reynolds?
Yeah, look, as a passionate, massive disclaimer here, I won't be biased at all, but I'm a massive Sydney Roosters fan. So watching Adam Reynolds over the years for South Sydney, just absolutely tear up for them over the last few years that he was there. Look, he's a player that I can't really hate, even though he was at a rival club. I just think he goes about his business so well. He was South Sydney through and through, and he absolutely ripped and teared every single time he played. I'm an Adam Reynolds fan, I'll admit. Moving to the Broncos, I think he did a great job. Fell off towards the end of the season, but I'd say he's quality. I'd put quality, not elite. I've got a few people in mind for elite, and I just feel like those certain individuals that I have in mind are just slightly above Adam Reynolds. I feel like if he was able to bring the Broncos to top 4 over the next couple of years, I'd definitely put him in elite. But I don't think that'll happen. So I've got him as quality, but not elite.
Yeah, no, I absolutely 100% agree. I thought you were actually going to put him in elite there, but I was going to put him in quality too. For the sole purpose as well that he is getting older now, and I did say God, I hope not, because obviously I'm a Titans fan, so I don't want to see the Broncos make the top 4 in the next ever. But I think Adam Reynolds is a fantastic player, and there's no way that you couldn't put him in quality, and he's probably still going to be on the higher end of quality. He has been elite in his time. At the Broncos, he does have that potential to, relive his glory days in a way, because they do have a decent enough team there, but there is still a little bit of shakiness there. Obviously, the coach isn't great, apparently, from the players. But yeah, look, a lot of the guys actually say that Adam Reynolds is basically their coach. He's a great leader role. He's been in multiple grand finals. He's a great bloke. And look, I think that definitely put him in quality and definitely put him high up there. So look, if he was in the Titans, maybe he'd be an elite, but he's in the Broncos. Maybe. So he's lucky he's not that great. But still, actually, I will say just quickly on the Broncos, and I'm going to ask you this question actually. If Adam Reynolds, if the Broncos don't make the top 4 or even don't make the prelims in the next 2 years, which is his contract, he's going to be, 34 or so by the end of that, do you think that it was actually a failed signing?
Well, I don't think it was a failed signing. If they make the 8 both years, I think it's fine, like 2023, 2024. I wouldn't say it's a fail. No, I don't think he was there to bring them to the top 4. Maybe they thought so, the board of directors, but I feel like they're a bit clueless as a board as well at the moment. They've got a lot of moving parts there, and I feel like it's just like they've got to just really strengthen up the back line. Like the forward pack's really good, right? But the back line, they're so hot and cold. And I feel like Adam Reynolds really controlled like maybe the first 17, 18 rounds. And like surely your backs can do some work towards the back end of the season, which they didn't do. So I wouldn't say it's a fail, but if they miss out on the 8 this year, then yeah, for sure it's a fail.
Yeah, then you could potentially start considering it. But we'll leave it in quality for now, and we'll come back. We'll come back to it next year with the old Broncos because it is hard to predict the top 8 this year. Next up here, we do go to the St. George Illawarra Dragons, and this team is a really, really difficult one for me to always read into because I don't mind the Dragons, but they just never help themselves. They really don't, especially in
Yeah.
this last decade or so. But Ben Hunt, he had an absolutely unbelievable season last year. Obviously, people thought he was going to get the Daly M. He was in a losing team comparatively to Nicho Hynes, who we'll get to a little bit later. And, he's the best player in the Dragons. And realistically, if it wasn't for him, I think that the Dragons, maybe not won the wooden spoon, but still a chance of winning the wooden spoon last year. They would have been really, really poor without him. They're just so bland. And, Ben Hunt is the only guy that gives them a little bit of spice in it. For me, if I was going to put him anywhere, I still, it has been that 1 year, and I think he is really, really good. But are you also thinking maybe right at the top of quality? Because I just think that the guys I want to put in elite are consistent over, years. I think Ben Hunt really had his redemption story last year, but I don't think it's necessarily been consistently at that high level, but he has been at a really good level.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. I mean, on the Dragons, I've got them finishing bottom four this year, and you're probably right. They may have won the wooden spoon if they didn't have, if Ben Hunt wasn't there, surely they win the wooden spoon. Ben Hunt's been great, even for Queensland. Like, I don't want to talk about Origin. I'm glad you didn't mention it.
Oh, I like it. I like Origin. That was very, very fun. Very fun.
Speaking of Origin though, and Ben Hunt, I'm one of those guys who actually I prefer him playing at 9. I understand why he plays at 7 though, but I do prefer him at hooker. I don't have him in elite either, because he does play a bit at 9, I prefer him at 9. So in the 7 position, does he dominate every single aspect of the game? I don't think so. I think the long kicking game he definitely dominates. Passing game strategically is fantastic, but the short kicking game and no real flair. And if he was that good, as good as someone like who I think like obviously at the top of the game right now, it's a no-brainer, Nathan Cleary. I feel like he'd be able to kind of push the Dragons in a better position. In terms of attack. So I wouldn't put him in elite, but he's definitely quality.
I've got him right at the top of quality, and that is above Adam Reynolds. And the reason for that is he. Oh, well, first of all, did they actually finish above? No, they finished in 10th and the Broncos finished in 9th. Adam Reynolds is also quite injury prone now due to his age, whilst Ben Hunt is at a relatively similar age and is a lot more durable. And I think that Adam Reynolds did have a better team around him, whilst obviously Ben Hunt didn't. So I think that for the position that they were able to achieve, I would say Ben Hunt right now is someone that I'm looking at personally over Adam Reynolds. But you take it back a few years, and I've definitely clearly got Reynolds above him.
Yeah, you take back a few years, Reynolds above Clear. I think overall, I'll go Reynolds above. I think that premiership in 2014 was massive. And also, I think his goal kicking ability just puts him over in terms of a complete half. Not that all halves need a goal kick, but I feel like that's a winning edge he's got over Ben Hunt. As an overall player, I do rate Ben Hunt quite highly. But if we're talking purely about a halfback position, I've got Reynolds just above him.
Going into this year, do you think that Reynolds is a better player than Ben Hunt? Going into this year? Based off of everything. This year? Yeah.
Going into this year, no, purely because of the injury prone factor.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll chuck him. We'll chuck him at the very top of quality. It's great for people to hear all of this because we are talking about going into this year. So that's why I was trying to push that to get Ben Hunt above Reynolds there. But I think of a successful career. Overall career, yeah, we'd be looking at Adam Reynolds, and he'd definitely. I reckon in this tier list, he'd be an elite for his career, obviously. But yeah, it is more so obviously going into
this year. Yeah, for sure, I'd agree then.
All right, so Ben Hunt, top of quality.
Drag Ben Hunt in.
Yeah, there you go. All right, moving on now, we go to the North Queensland Cowboys, and a bit of a tough one here with Chatty Townsend, a guy that we didn't really think was going to do anything going to the Cowboys, and really turned him around. It just seemed like a miracle year that everyone just had a fantastic year. Confused about what happens this year, but look, what do you have to say about Chad Townsend? I think he's just the epitome of a consistent player.
He is a consistent player. His vlogs are consistent too. Chad seems like a decent bloke. Look, he's been a good player. I don't think he's ever done something exceptional. Everyone's like, oh wow, Chad Townsend. He's not a player that everyone talks about at all. He's not the most popular halfback, and I think he does a bit more than just doing the job, because to that Cowboys team, people thought the Cowboys were going to finish bottom 4, and look where they finished. I think to play well on a consistent basis and to push for finals, especially with the young team that they had, I feel like that's some young and inexperienced players there, and it was all off the back of Chad Townsend. Everyone's talking about Ruben Cotter and Nanai and Drinkwater. They were all exceptional, but Chad Townsend, he really steered the ship the whole time there. And I think he learned a lot from his time at Cronulla, winning that comp in what was it, 2015 or 16?
2016, yeah.
16, yeah, that was just exceptional. And even then, no one really spoke about the halfback for the team. No one really spoke about him. But to be so consistent, it pushes him in that quality bracket for me. And I think going into this year, anything below top 6 is a fail for them.
Yeah, I would agree. And you've actually convinced me there to take him from the very top of do the job into the very bottom of quality. I still think he is very bottom of quality, which is not a negative on him, just in comparison to the guys above him. I think that, yeah, look, without those young guys, I don't believe have as good a season without the likes of a Townsend to steer them around. I think that 2016 premiership does really help him. And they had James Maloney, they had Ben Barber, and they had Michael Ennis to take away a lot of the limelight from what Chad could do. And fantastic. Paul Gallen at the time, just incredible team. Luke Lewis,
yeah.
Fecky, who was killing Valentine Holmes. Man, that team was just absolutely incredible. Yeah, exactly. So he never really was able to get that limelight, and then was able to actually take them through a couple of years without all those guys. But for most of the time, I think he has been around that to the job. But this last year has picked him back up into that bottom area of quality. So that's where we're going to put him.
Yeah, I'm happy bottom area of quality.
All right, there we go. All right, next up here, we do go to the Manly Seagulls, who have multiple times on these so far, these team makers, we have said they're in for a really tough year because the more in-depth look you take at their team and their players, the more it kind of looks like struggle is incoming. But Daly Cherry Evans here, really tough one as well, because he's not a young bloke anymore, man. He's been there for, I think he's coming to the end of his 10-year contract. I remember when that all happened, obviously, I'm a Titans fan. I still remember the bloody bullshit contract. But it's 2023 now, so he's got one more year after this, 2024. It was a 10-year contract. Actually, this could be his last year unless he's re-signed, which he will. But, where would you put Cherry Evans now? Because he still is a quality halfback, but he isn't exactly where he used to be, even though he did have a pretty decent origin period in parts.
Yeah, look, the fact that he isn't as good as what he used to be does put a massive question mark over his head. But I can't see Daly Cherry Evans being in the do the job section because he does more than just a job. I mean, look at his field goal strike rate. That's quite incredible. That's something a lot of halves miss out on. And Cherry Evans, he always does well when it comes to field goals. Well, 9 times out of 10. I feel like he needs to steer the ship a bit better than what he's done over the last couple of seasons, especially without Tommy Turbo. Like everyone says, look, no Turbo, no Manly. I know there were like a few of my mates are massive Manly fans. It's always good to give it to them. But
so sorry.
At the end of the day, you want Cherry Evans to really step up because he comes into the Origin arena. I know he cops a lot of shit and he has for a long time, but he's a good player and he's got some good things under his belt. But I don't know. Going into this year, it's really, really tough. It's incredible how he's not that injury prone at this age and given everything that I feel like he puts his body on the line more than a lot of the other halves. So I'm surprised not as injury prone as what he is. And I think he needs to really step up this year compared to last year for what he can do at club level. Do I have him and do the job of quality? It's a tough question. I'd have him towards the bottom of quality, but still above Chad Townsend.
That is exactly where so I was moving it there while you were talking so that people could see that I knew exactly where you're going to go. And that's exactly where I've gone to. Yeah, right above Chad Townsend, below Adam Reynolds there. Because, yeah.
Do the job would be disrespectful, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be because he just won another Origin, and he had to do it with Tommy Dearden rather than Munster. So he obviously did pick it up a lot. Obviously, Cameron Ponga did a lot there too. And a lot of the entire team did, as Queensland always does. Just remember that, New South Wales fans. But yeah, look, it would be very disrespectful to. Hey, listen, I had to be in New South Wales for that game 3, James Tedesco try, right? So listen, I'm taking this year, eh?
You can take it. You can take them. I was there for the Tedesco thing. It was one of the best moments I've ever been to. Apart from, I'm lucky enough I've gone to all 3 grand finals that the Roosters have won. So I didn't go in 2010. So I've watched 3 grand finals and 3 premiership wins, and then watching that Origin, that was incredible. So I'll let you take it.
God help me. That game was something else. Hey, God, just gee whiz. All right, we're going to move on because I'm starting to think about that game again. So we'll move on now to I think we've got Isaiya Katoa here, who is at the Dolphins now. Was at the Panthers. He's in his Tongan kit there because I thought, well, that's red. I'll chuck it in. Isaiya Katoa is
Mhm.
more than likely going to be chucking into unproven, I would say. I haven't seen him a great deal at NRL level just yet. I think that obviously I really like him. I really do like him. I saw him when he played for Tonga. I thought he actually deserved more game time there because I think they were
Yeah.
playing Junior Amone and I can't remember who they said. I can't remember who their halves were. This is a big reason why Tonga don't actually go the distance normally. But I think that he will eventually be in a very good position, but I think we have to put him unproven.
Yeah, he's got to go in unproven for sure. A lot of potential. Like at the end of his career, we could definitely see him in elite. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in elite if he keeps on the trajectory that he's currently on. But definitely unproven. It'd be disrespectful to say not that great, and he definitely can't do the job yet. Still in
Yeah.
untested waters.
Yeah, exactly right. It's not enough game time. So we'll move on now and we'll get to a new man at the Newcastle Knights. He obviously is still wearing his Tigers kit. But the reason why their jerseys are still the old jerseys, by the way, guys, is because one, it reminds people who they are and where they came from, so you have an idea of what they've been playing like. Otherwise, if you had them in their new jersey, you'd kind of it just you feel like they're already there, and then I don't know, it just you look back to how they played in that jersey. Also, most of the time, they haven't actually put the new jersey on for the photo. But look, Jackson Hastings, I think that he's probably going to go straight into that do the job section. I think he's going to be high up, though. But I'm not going to be putting him in the level of the guys above. Like, look at the guys, Ben Hunt, Adam Reynolds, Sherry Evans, and Chad Townsend. I don't mind Jackson Hastings. I do think that he is a tad overrated based off of what the general consensus say, but I'm not saying that he's a bad player. I just don't think he's as good as people try to make him out to be. I know that he won, I think, Man of Steel in England, but this isn't England, and I think that he did a decent enough job, but also he was still a part of the Tigers team, and they came
Yeah.
last. So, do you agree with what I'm saying?
I agree with what you're saying. I'm actually a Jackson Hastings fan. I love the way he attacks. Not Matt, like he doesn't have the best defensive game, but I love the way he plays attacking footy. Also, I think he really thinks about attacking players. I've heard him on multiple like podcasts and different clips here and there. He thinks a lot about the game, and then you can see him execute it in attack on the field. So defensively, I think he's really got to improve, and he's got to take the Tigers out of the bottom four. And I think their new signings right now take them out
Well,
of the
he's
bottom
at the
four.
Knights
So
now,
he's at the Knights. So that's right. So going into this year.
which is a similar situation, really.
It's a similar situation. Yeah, sorry that Tigers jersey got me there.
Yeah.
I actually think that was a weird signing in my opinion. To be honest, I'd have him there with the new signings that the Tigers got. But at Newcastle Knights, look, it'll be another big challenge for him. It's probably more of a challenge than at West Tigers in my opinion. But
I would agree based on the fact that one, they've actually moved Callum Ponga into the 5'8", as we found out, in January, which is when we're filming this. But we've found that Callum Ponga is going to be the 6, and their team's a little bit all over the shop. So he's literally in a very similar situation. Actually, yeah, he's gone into a worse situation than what the Tigers have put themselves into. Even though the Tigers aren't in a great situation themselves, at least it is a bit more forward than what the Knights are in, because the Knights are still going backwards, in my opinion. The Tigers are at least are they trying to go forward? They've at least set
Tigers
in
are trying.
motion. They've set in motion, is what I would go as far to say.
Yeah,
but there's still a lot of hesitancy there because it is the Tigers.
that's right. I feel like if he didn't get injured at the Tigers, he would have had a better overall season, in my opinion. But like you said, we can't put him in quality. I'm looking at quality here. We've got Ben Hunt, Adam Reynolds, Daly Cherry Evans, Chad Townsend. We cannot put Jackson Hastings in that conversation, but he can definitely do the job.
Absolutely. And I think he'll be high up there by the end of it. All right, next up here, we're going to... I'm actually impressed there's so many in quality already, because I'm pretty certain we're about to put another one in there as well. Maybe even I. But we've got Jahrome Hughes here from the Gold Coast... not Gold Coast Titans. Well, he was on the Gold Coast Titans. I saw that Titans jersey with Toby just below him. From the Melbourne Storm. Jahrome Hughes is an unbelievable player. I don't obviously think that last year was his greatest year, but I think that was also down to, I think he got injured for quite some time. The whole Storm team was pretty much injured last year, and it was an impending doom that was coming in that final series, and it had to be their Canberra Raiders, the guys that just always seem to beat them. I love what Jahrome Hughes does. I think that going into this year, I would say that he is a part of the elite category.
Yeah, he's my first player in elite. Watching Jahrome Hughes, I'm not sure if you've got any Roosters fans that regularly watch, but he just tears us up every time he comes against us, and I can't stand it. I know a try is coming, or he's going to make a crazy line break every single time. It's just unbelievable. The way he attacks the line, the way he can look like he's playing short and then just play along and vice versa, I think it's incredible. Sometimes you don't even know when he's about to kick the ball. I think he is definitely underrated because you look at that Melbourne Storm spine and everyone speaks about the other players. Like everyone talks about Pappenhausen and Munster, and rightly so, they're the flashy players. But you see what Jahrome Hughes does. I think a couple of times this year we saw Cam Munster injured and Jahrome Hughes played, and Melbourne looked like a decent team. And then you saw it the other way around when Jahrome Hughes is out, and you're like, oh wow, something's like missing. It's a bit clunky, and that's him. He was the missing link when he was injured. Definitely in the elite category. Won comps with them, and like he's a massive threat. I also think New Zealand played much better with Jahrome Hughes. I know he was injured for one game that looked shocking, but
I think overall New Zealand were pretty poor regardless, but I think that Jahrome Hughes, when he came back in, at least made them look a little bit better.
I made him look like a better team, yeah.
Definitely. Because as we'll get to somebody in a moment, I don't think a certain player here is a 7, and he was actually playing the 7 for most of that New Zealand time. But yeah, I think that Jahrome Hughes is a very similar player in a sense to I guess the Tedesco situation. In Tedesco wouldn't have become Tedesco at the Tigers. And now when he came to the Roosters, that's where he was able to evolve. I think that with Jahrome Hughes, he was at the Titans, and I think that they probably would have kept him as a fullback there, and he wouldn't have gone into the halves. But obviously, going to Craig Bellamy in the Storm, he really did, evolve into the guy that he is. And it's great to see there for Jahrome, and they really do dominate with him there. So I think that they're going to be much better this year. But also, the Storm do have a lot of question marks because their spine is fantastic. But everyone else is a little bit how you're going. It is.
They've lost the forward pack.
They've lost their forward pack, which I've done in the last 2 days here, and there's their whole every part of their team besides their spine has holes in it. It's a really weird one to predict this year, man, because they've got the best spine of the comp for me, but which Jahrome Hughes is included in. So I don't know, but we'll chuck him in elite, and let's move on now to. I'm going to let you go here. I'm going to let you go here first with this one. It is the Eels, and it is going to be Jakob Arthur, who has become a bit of a meme within the game. Did have a good couple of moments in the grand final over the Eels. What are your thoughts on Jakob Arthur?
Yeah, Jakob Arthur, look, he has become a bit of a meme, and it's a bit unfortunate. And I feel like if his dad wasn't the coach, he just wouldn't become a meme at all. I think it's as simple as that. Dad being the coach, putting him in the team when there are other players that probably deserve to go, like Bryce Cartwright. I'm a Bryce Cartwright fan. I know he played for the Titans. I'm not sure if you love him as much as I do.
Oh, God.
I'm not a massive fan of Bryce Cartwright, but I think he's much more versatile and could have filled in a spot on the bench over Jakob Arthur during the end of the season for sure. Yeah. But I'd still put him in. Like, to be honest, I'd put him in unproven. I don't want to put him in not that great, because I feel like he deserves to have at least 10 more games. Maybe 10 games in a row, or maybe 7 or 8 games consecutively, just to understand what he can do. Because I feel like we just haven't seen enough of him consistently. You can't bring him in the side and then have him play like 3 minutes the next week, and then all of a sudden playing 2 weeks in a row, then gone for 8. I mean, it's not an accurate assessment of someone. I'm happy to put him in unproven, but I can understand why Parramatta fans especially would say he's not that great. I've got plenty of Parramates, and they say he's not that great, but I still think he's unproven. He has not been given a fair crack.
I think if we were going to put him somewhere, it would be in that not that great section. But I agree with you in the unproven on a lot of what you just said, and we're going to put him there. The only reason I was looking just then was because I was making sure to see if there was anybody who was going to go in that not that great section, and I know there definitely is. So, so I'm happy to put. I know that Jakob Arthur is going to go. Well, I definitely will put him below. It's not really a thing, but like I think that Isaiya Katoa has a higher ceiling, a much higher ceiling than what Jakob Arthur could produce. So I think that, are you going to agree that we put him below him though?
Yeah, I'm just about to move him around now. I think he'll go just after Katoa. Yeah, what do you think? You agree?
Yeah, that's what we'll chuck him in. All right, let's move on now to Jamal Fogarty. I called him by his real name, guys. I called him by his real name, Jamal Fogarty. Canberra Raiders used to be Gold Coast Titans. This is a different one for me because I really like Jamal. I think that the way that I've got to be careful, but the way that the exit of the Titans happened maybe might not exactly be as truthful as everyone thinks. But with Jamal Fogarty, I think that he definitely is a decent enough player, and I think that he's a very not similar player in regards to the play styles of Jackson Hastings of Jackson Hastings and Jamal Fogarty. But I think that they're going to be in a very similar position here where they're obviously not going to be as good as those guys in quality. I think that Jamal Fogarty still probably does go above Jackson Hastings, though, for the sole purpose of, if you look at that Canberra team last year, they really struggled. And then when he came back, he did at least provide that stability. And that is what Jamal is there for. He is a bland halfback. I just want to throw that out there for everybody. He is not an exciting halfback. He never has been an exciting halfback. That's not what he is meant to be there for. However, he is a stabilizing halfback, and he will do exactly what you need to do so that, guys like Jack Whiten can kill it, or Thomas Darling can come off and get some speed going. Their forwards are fantastic. Hudson Young, Papali'i, Whitehead. Who else have they got there? Jeez, they've got a heap of really good forwards, and I think that Jamal Fogarty is that guy that just sits them down, gets them directed, and gets the job done. So I would personally put him above Hastings, but I'm definitely not putting him in quality.
I'm definitely not putting him in quality either. I'd like to disagree with you on something to provide a bit more, a bit of contrasting stuff for everyone. But I'd have to agree with you on this one. I'd love to disagree, but I can't with Jamal Fogarty. I think when he was missing, the Canberra Raiders didn't look too good at all. He's one of those players who does things on and off the ball that the average fan probably won't take much notice to, but you kind of notice when he's missing because the Raiders don't perform as well. And I feel like if it wasn't for his performance, Jack Whiten wouldn't be able to shine and wouldn't be able to get the freedom, the early ball that he gets. So I also feel like the back rowers ran well off him. And even he had a little bit of a connection with Adam Elliott, who's moved over to the Newcastle Knights, which I think is a big loss for Canberra. But yeah, I feel like he did his job well, ball playing with the forwards and then also guiding the team around the park. So I've put him in to do the job. I would have Hastings over him if Hastings finished the season the way he started the season. But because he fell off towards the end and then got injured, I'd still put Fogarty over him because Fogarty's return from injury was better than what Hastings was throughout the year, in my opinion.
I think as well, the reason why you could argue that Fogarty is above is because at least Fogarty is in the same situation as last year. So he's got that consistency there. With Jackson Hastings, he's now gone to a brand new team in a worse opposition. I need to see what he does there before, because I know what we're going to get from Fogarty this year. This is why I respond like that, because there's too many people out there who think that Jamal Fogarty is the reason why the Titans became what they did in 2022. It is not. It's a part of it, but there's so many things that you guys don't see that, just because it's the one thing that happens on a public level, really, everyone blames that decision, which was...
And because he's a halfback.
And because he's a halfback, which ended up being a really tough area for us. But there were so many factors that went into that. And, I think that Jamal is just, he is the epitome of a do-the-job player. You're never going to get that level of quality out of him, but he's always going to be a guy that you're going to rely upon to do the right things and not much of the wrong thing, but just nothing on, over the top kind of thing in regards to for example, Jahrome Hughes or a Ben Hunt game-changing play. So let's move on now. Let's move on now from my favorite player on the planet, Jamal Fogarty, and we'll go to a Gold Coast Titans man. What a guy! Here he is. I know he's wearing a Manly Seagulls jersey, but it is Kieran Foran. Now, disclaimer: I did say before there was a player that was coming that probably won't play 7. And again, I do not believe that Kieran Foran will play 7. I know that he played 7 for the New Zealand team in the Rugby League World Cup. However, we'll get to 2 guys later on that probably are in more of a position because I believe Kieran Foran is a 5'8". I think he's a true 5'8". I know there isn't a great deal of separation between halfbacks and 5'8s nowadays. However, I think that Foran for me is just simply not a halfback. I need to see direction. I need to see more of a stabilizer role, and I just don't necessarily believe that that's what Foran does. I think Foran really works well off of what a halfback attributes actually have. So for me, in this position, because we will do a 5'8 position, and I'll have him higher. For me, in the halfback role, I've actually got him in not that great.
Yeah, I don't think he's that great either as a halfback. I'd probably put him at the higher end of do the job or back end of quality if we're talking about 5'8", because I rate him higher as a 5'8", only because I feel like when he receives good ball, he does good things. But in terms of creating the play himself and leading the team around the field, I don't think he's that good. So I tend to agree with you there. It'd be interesting to see his role with the Titans like going into next year, which I'm sure you'll touch on in further videos and things like that. And maybe after the first 4 rounds, you get a good indication. But I'm not sure what the halves pairing is going to look like at Gold Coast next year. But if he's halfback, I think that's just a shocking decision. But if he's going to play 5'8" next year, I think it's probably better off for the Titans. But yeah, this is a halfback video. I've got him at the top of not that great.
Yeah, I agree. And just to put some extra clarification for everyone in regards to the reason why he potentially could be that 7 is because Look, Toby and Tanah, who we'll get to in a little bit, are in very similar predicaments. Tanah had a good end of the season, but Toby has that extra potential that we've seen in previous year. In 2021, which like I said, I'll speak more about him later. The reason why is because AJ he played really well towards the end part of the season in that sixth role. So where people were kind of talking about Foran at 7 is because at least AJ was playing well in the sixth, and maybe keep him there, keep JC in the fullback, because there's so many question marks about where players are going to play. The Titans have those players that are decent enough players there, but they just don't know exactly where. JC, AJ, Kieran, what's he going to do? There's at least now Alofiana Campera comes into the wing. I don't know. There's a whole heap of stuff going on. So there is a chance that Kieran plays 7. I don't think so, though. So we'll chuck him at the top end of not that great in this position. Next up here, we will go to the Bulldogs. And Kyle Flanagan, I think, is going to probably go in the not that great section.
Yeah, Kyle Flanagan. Roosters kicked him out after one season. At the Sharks, he only played, maybe like 4 games. And then at the Bulldogs, he hasn't played too many games either. Probably, what's he played? Maybe, I'm not sure, 15, less? Maybe around that.
He's definitely played enough that we've seen what we're going to see from him. This is the biggest question mark around the Bulldogs team, even though there are still new people coming in, gel, new coach, a lot of stuff going on there. Titans and Bulldogs are actually in a very similar position besides the coach factor. But yeah, how long he's been there for 2 years now? I still think he's been that main 7 though most of the time, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he played too many. I think he should have played probably more games this season, just so the Bulldogs got a better read of him. But yeah, he's played enough games to form an opinion. Look, I can't say he can do the job, or else we would have seen the Bulldogs in a higher position. And it's as simple as that. It was the Matt Burton show, and rightly so. And when your 7's not dominating, I think a lot of pressure falls on the 6. Lucky the 6 was Matt Burton, and Burton was able to dish out a great performance week in, week out. So yeah, I've got him at not that great. I wouldn't say he's at the top of not that great, only because he's had his chances to prove himself. He's played in 3 NRL clubs now. Not that great at the moment. We've got it's just Foran. Yeah, okay. I'd leave Foran in front of him, even though Foran's not an out and out 7.
I already put him there too. We're on a very similar wavelength, man. I just think that Kieran Foran, I say this all the time in team makers, if I'm taking a draft tomorrow, I'm a big American sports fan. So if I'm taking a draft tomorrow and I'm looking at the profiles of these two guys, I'm still going to take Kieran Foran in that 7 because he does still have experience in a 7. He does still play at least in New Zealand, for the international team as a halfback. So at least he's got that to his name, and he does have that experience. And although he won the premiership in the 5A, I know that he could play. I know he would, if the Titans tomorrow sign Kyle Flanagan and we had the choice of Kyle Flanagan and Kieran Foran in the 7, I would take Kieran Foran in the 7.
Yeah. No, well said.
There we go. All right. So we've got Kieran Foran at the top there, not that great, but Kyle Flanagan at the bottom. Who's next? We've got Lachlan Ilias here from the Rabbitohs, your rival team. I think he had a pretty good year last. Well, I think he came on to his own. I think he really started to become the player. What do you think about Lachlan Ilias, especially as a rival fan? Obviously give yourself a non-biased review, though.
Yeah, non-biased. Okay, so Rabbitohs, rivals, can't stand them. Don't want to speak about them or their fans, but I'm speaking about Ilias because he's someone who copped a lot of crap at the start of the year because I don't think he played that well in the opening 6 rounds. And then you look at the last 6 rounds in the finals and you're like, oh, wow, is this the same player? His defense improved drastically. I feel like that time when he got hooked against the Dragons, when they got absolutely embarrassed, that really changed him. Whether people say it's the right decision or not, it's not my opinion. It's not up to me. I'm not the coach. I couldn't care less about the Rabbitohs. But seeing him come back and play as good as what he did, I've literally got him in the do the job section because I think for Adam Reynolds to leave and for the young kid to step up and have a crack, they had more than a crack. And they put our pants down in the finals, which I'm still not over. But hopefully we'll get them this year. But that was because Lachlan Ilias just stood up and said, "Oh, you want to play? I'm here to play too. Doesn't matter how young I am or how small I am compared to you guys. Might be my first full year, but I'm here to play." So I think I've got him at the very back end of do the job, but he's definitely above the not that great section.
I think it's hard because obviously he's still very, very young and he's only had that one full season there. But he also had a great time for Greece. I think that Greece wasn't obviously
Yeah.
fantastic in regards to the score lines, but if you actually watch the games, which is a big thing for people, especially in this sport, but just in sport in general, is that most people don't actually watch the games and they look at stats and that's the only thing
Yeah.
they look at, and they look at scores. And it just doesn't represent shit, right? And that's a big thing actually in regards to Dave Fafita, because he still actually statistically is very, very good, but people don't like to look at that because they look at the money factor, and they only look at the scores of the Titans. But back to Ilias, I think he had a really good year at the back end. I was at that Rabbitohs Broncos where Kurt Capewell kicked a field goal in the first game of the season, and I thought he was absolutely dreadful. But no, I think that obviously proved it was the right decision to hook him there after that Dragons game. And, obviously, yeah, it was an integral part of the Rabbitohs getting as far as they did. I'm excited for what he can do. It's impossible to put him too high here based on the fact that he's only had that 1 year.
Yeah.
But if I'm saying I would actually go against the opinion of putting him at the bottom, I would personally put him, because I think that he was such an integral part to this Rabbitohs team. I actually put him above Jackson Hastings.
Okay, so we've got Jamal, Fogarty, and Jackson Hastings there right now, right?
Yeah, and I'm suggesting to put Ilias right bang in the middle.
In the middle. Okay.
Which is a big
I feel
call.
like maybe we didn't get an accurate. Yeah, I don't think we got an accurate read on Hastings. Like going in, like if we're looking at it going into this season, right? Ilias had an amazing last maybe 5 or 6 weeks, like absolutely amazing. Whereas I feel like Hastings didn't get an opportunity because of the injury at the end. But in saying that, that was out of our control. So I don't mind putting him in front of Hastings. I don't mind.
Because I think that there's also the factor of the potential, and Hastings isn't, well, as young. I don't think he's that old. He's definitely not a young pup, though, because obviously he was originally at Manly, then he went to England, and then he went to the Tigers, and then now he's at the Knights. So he's definitely been around. I think Ilias is really, really young, and I think I'm really excited about what's to come. And although we're not really meant to look too much at the potential, I think that going into this year, we're going to see that Ilias is the better half here between the two of them. Is why I would argue to put him there. But
fair enough. Ilias is a 22-year-old, and I've just checked Hastings' age is 27. So to be that young and to do that well,
that's a lot of teams. To be completely honest with you, for a 27-year-old, that is a lot of to go from there to there, to already have gone to England, won a man of steel, and come back. That's actually quite impressive there for Hastings, even though he has gone through multiple teams, which is also unimpressive on that regard. I don't know. This is one for the comment section. Let us know your thoughts. If you're a Rabbitohs fan, I'm sorry, your opinion doesn't really matter in regards to this situation. But overall, still drop your opinion. Yeah. But everyone else, chuck your opinion. And even the Rabbitohs fans, chuck your opinion in. Because I think some Rabbitohs fans also aren't exactly the biggest fans of him, but I just think give him time, man. He's really making a name for himself. But a person who's not making a name for himself? Well, he's making a name for himself, but not in the greatest of regards. And that is Mr. or Sir Luke Brooks of the West Tigers. He's made a name for himself in the organisation for we're not going to get rid of him at all costs, even though we are the biggest Muppets that ever did Muppet. I don't know what it is about this man, but we get it. We're very well aware he won a Daly M half of the year in 2018, but it's now 5 years later, and the Tigers have been dreadful every single year, and even were dreadful in that year, mind you. The only year they were even half decent was Harry Grant, and they still missed the 8 there. And if they have at least a half decent halfback, they get into the 8 in that season. But they didn't get there. Actually, I think they came 10th because that was the year the Titans still made sure they came 9th. Yeah, I think that was 2020, wasn't it, when Harry Grant was there?
Yeah, they didn't even come 9th.
Yeah, they came 10th. So, look, for me, I understand that he has the ability there, but he hasn't shown jack shit ability in years, man. In years. And there's no way I refuse to put this man in do the job, because he has not been doing the job. He's not been doing the job. But it is going to be interesting to see where we put him in the not that great, if you agree with me.
Yep. Well, your job as a halfback is to guide your team around the field, get them in great scoring positions. And if you can't finish the job yourself, you got to start the job. And that's something he hasn't done, because the Tigers never get themselves into good positions. I can't remember the last time the Tigers finished in the 8th, neither can their fans. So if he were to do the job, then they would have made finals, at least three times in the last 10 years. Yeah. So there's no way we're putting him to do the job. He's definitely proven himself. He's definitely proven that he's not that great, with all due respect. So he's going in that not that great section. And the Tigers, I don't know why they're holding on to him. Uh,
Well, they got rid of Hastings for him. Realistically thinking about it,
I couldn't tell you why they did that either. If you're talking about Hastings, like you said, 27 years old, is one man and still come back. He seems much more mature than what he was when he first left. So you'd think they'd just pick and stick and just. I know so many Tigers fans are actually so upset that Hastings has left and they've kept Brooks. Like, we could have seen.
I'm not a Tigers fan, and I'm upset for him.
Yeah, I'm upset too. But look. It is what it is. Brooks is definitely not that great. Would I put him in front of Kyle Flanagan?
I would.
I would, because it just shows how bad Flanagan's been.
I think the reason why I'd put Luke Brooks there is that at least he does have that pass that shows what he can produce. We haven't seen, I guess, what Flanagan can produce, if he can produce. So at least if the Tigers are still re-signing him, we have to be missing something, West Tigers organisation. And Hadji Pantelis, whatever your name is, who disrespected the fans, you're a muppet. But, no, that's about it, really. I think that I'm going to take Kieran Foran over Luke Brooks today, so still.
I'll take Kieran Foran over him. Yeah, but I'll put him in front of Flanagan, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Flanagan, but I think it is also just it is the case. He hasn't done anything yet, and this is his time.
Yeah.
It's a big year for him.
But look, Flanagan can come out this year and absolutely kill it with Burton. Bulldogs, I don't think the Bulldogs will make the 8 as much as their fans think they will. But if Bulldogs finish like 10th, I say that's a successful year. And if Flanagan gets that regular spot, kicks a bit better in field of play and also goal kicking, look, he'd be at the top of that list going into next year. But at the moment, he's still got to be at the bottom of the not that great.
Well, I've been saying for years, 2024 is the year the Dogs make the 8. 2024. I've been saying it. I'm still maintaining it. 2024 is the year. I'm not putting an official prediction out just yet, but the fan base is very loud and they try to make everyone believe it. We've been hearing it for a long time. They're going to make the 8. They won the wooden spoon the year they were apparently going to make the 8. So, they don't really hold too much, I guess no one really believes in what they're saying. Yeah, weight. That's what I was looking for. Weight in what they're saying. Overall, Luke Brooks, he'll go into middle of not that great. And let's move on. Moving on now, we have Mitchell Moses from the Parramatta Eels, who actually just re-signed and made another contract, which was interesting considering that they were talking about potentially putting him over to the Tigers. They would offer, or has the contract gone through? Or is it just thought? At the time of filming, this is, by the way, guys, middle of January. Has the contract gone through?
I'm not sure if the contract's gone through.
I'm not sure.
Dylan Brown re-signed. I'm not sure about if Moses is confirmed.
I think maybe anyway, this is probably gone and past for you guys, but for us, I think there's still 3 teams involved, but the Eels, anyway, he's at the time of filming, he's still at the Eels.
We'll say he's staying on.
For the thought process right now, we've got him staying at the Eels. But I really like what Mitchell Moses does. It's really difficult with him, though, because he's never really been able to take that step up. And I do think that he had and I know the preliminary final, he had an excuse, but I think his partner was giving birth or something like that, or there was something going off the field.
Yeah.
But he also had a follow-up really terrible grand final game. And it just seems like in those really big games, he goes missing. And I think that he's got such a great skill set. I think that the Eels are a great team. I think that the Eels, with a better, I don't know. It's like he is a good halfback. He's a really good halfback, but I just don't know if he has that premiership winning ability about him.
It's tough. And I don't know if he's got the premiership winning ability about him either. And that's why I can't put him in the elite category whatsoever. But you've got to be doing, you've got to be playing great footy. You've got to be a quality player to make a grand final, to take your team to top 4, to represent your state and state of origin, even if it was because of, star player was injured. He still represented his state and he's taking his team to a grand final. I've got him in the quality category. I think Mitch Moses I still think he's a good player. I feel like he reaches a level of confidence in his ability and the team around him, and he plays really well. Then suddenly he'll just drop off and he'll just look like he doesn't belong on the field. Yeah, and it's a real shock. And I'm thankful that I'm not a Parramatta fan because I don't have to go through that. But it would be so tough, and this isn't even a joke. To see someone so good and who plays so consistent throughout the year just drop off. It's what's happened? So a lot of question marks around there. That's why I can't put him at the top of quality, but I definitely do think he's a quality player. And I think Dylan Brown actually complements his Mitchell Moses' playing style. I think they're a really good combination. So if Parramatta were to lose one of those players, I'd have a lot of I'm already worried about them this year, but it'd be more worrying if one of them left. So hopefully at this, when this comes out, they're still together because that'll help Parramatta fans. But I think as a quality player, I'm not sure where you're thinking of putting him, but going into this year, I've got him between. He did have a disappointing final, but I think his uncle passed away when his wife gave birth. I think that's what the situation was, and it's pretty close with his uncle. So that's pretty rough. I don't think Cherry Evans was that impressive. I'd put him between Ben Hunt and Daly Cherry Evans going into next year.
I think in regards to, because this is obviously predominantly NRL. If you really wanted to include Origin, because I was pointing the mouse around Cherry Evans there, whether it's above or below, he was the point of difference there. I think that in regards to the NRL, in regards to the majority of games that we watch him in, I am taking right now Mitchell Moses, because Cherry Evans, look, multiple Origin winner, captain as well for Origin, has played for Australia, which is great, but we're not necessarily just looking at history, we're looking at going into this next year. And I think that I would back in Mitchell Moses going into this next year more so than Cherry Evans, especially that we're probably not going to see a great deal from Cherry at this Manly team where they've got so much, changes. Josh Schuster now in the 6 as well. Their forward pack is disgusting. I just want to throw that out there. Their forward pack is filthy. I've gone through their forwards. Don't expect them to be that high on the team makers. And their backs are wonky, skonky all over the job. So, it's going to be hard for Cherry Evans to do something there, but I think that I back Mitchell Moses. And it does unfortunately come down to a bit of the situation that separates the two, but we have to find a way to separate them. And I'd probably back in Mitchell Moses a bit more. So we're confirming that we'll put him above a Cherry, but below Reynolds, yeah?
Yeah, I'll back that.
All right. Next up here, we move into one that's pretty obvious, and I'm just going to move him straight there, and then we'll obviously still have a chat here. But Nathan Cleary, I think we're going to put him straight to the top of elite. It's pretty obvious. He's a back-to-back premiership winner. I will give you a somewhat negative on him. However, I've been saying for years now, before everyone started circle jerking him, I have been saying that on his trajectory, I still believe that he has the ability to become the best player that has ever played in the rugby league. I think that he's just such an incredible player that is so dominant. His kicking game is pinpoint perfection, and I think he's unreal. However, I do think in very, very big games, he does have the tendency, especially in Origin, he does have the tendency to kind of fall away a little bit. I think this year was a bit more telling that he won that World Cup, plus also won the grand final. Maybe it's just the Origin period, the Origin frame, that he just can't seem to have that undenying ability that we can see everywhere else.
I'll touch on that because firstly, like I could say so many great things about Cleary. I think it just shows that you've automatically put him to number one, and I don't have to say anything about that because we both agree, and I'm sure everyone watching agrees. Even if you can't stand Penrith, you know that Cleary is the best half in the comp right now going into next year, and probably will be for the next. I don't want to put anything on it, but I'd say at least the next 2 seasons he's the number one half going into the season.
Hey, Toby Sexton's coming.
So look. On that note about State of Origin, I feel like it's not. I absolutely hate it when people say he goes missing because I don't feel like he's gone missing. He looks for the ball and he gets involved. So if someone says he goes missing, I think it's a real casual fan comment to make because if he went missing, he'd go away from the ball.
Sorry, man. That's literally what I just said.
No. You're saying he won't perform in the big moments, but in terms of going missing, right?
I don't think he goes missing. I just don't think that the end product is there in the big games.
Yeah, which is fair enough. And I think the reason that the end product isn't there in the big games, which I do agree with you, but I don't think it's like because he's missing or going away from the ball or trying to hide away or whatever. I think it's because the team around him, the teammates actually rely on him more than what they should. Yes, he's a halfback, but when you're playing in State of Origin, everyone's just as important as each other. It's a rare opportunity for absolutely everyone to stand up and everyone's got to be, playing an 11 out of 10 game. And I feel like they just relied so heavily on Cleary that they could have explored other avenues on the field. I've watched that back so many times now, where you didn't actually have to rely on your star 7, right? Yeah. You didn't have to. You look at Queensland; they didn't rely on anyone. Everyone just stood up as individuals, and together they pushed as a collective. And I feel like New South Wales really they do. Even as a New South Welshman, I'll happily admit that. It's just I feel like everyone relied on Cleary so much, so he didn't perform as well. But I don't think he goes missing. I just think way too much pressure from teammates, not from outside noise. They put way too much pressure on him to perform when they could have helped him out a bit more. That's my take on it.
Yeah, no,
Agree or disagree?
I don't disagree at all. I don't think he runs away from it. I just think that overall, yeah, probably players do obviously, want to give him the ball because they believe he's the right man for it more
Yeah,
often than not. And unfortunately, he can't put it together in that moment because there is just way too much pressure on him. So yeah, I can see what you mean. But obviously, then he did do it in the World Cup final and did do it in the NRL back to back. Now it's just that origin that he hasn't sustained yet. But I also believe Origin is a completely different breed. We all know that there's so much more that goes into why Origin is Origin than just simply rugby league. It is literally a lot of things to do with the state of Queensland and the state of New South Wales that just the way people act in comparison. Would you agree with what I'm saying there?
yeah, I would definitely agree. Yeah, Origin's something that you just have to watch and enjoy. You can't be too critical of it all the time because it's so different. It's so
Yeah,
different.
it's very different, and Queensland's always on top, baby. All right, next, next up, we're going to go into Daly winner actually of 2022, which is Nicho Hynes of the Cronulla Sharks, and I feel like I understand why people say the things they do. However, I've never seen as much disrespect about a Dalian winner ever as I have this year. Like, it just seems like no one believes he should have won it, and they think it should have been Ben Hunt, or they believe it should have been somebody else. It's crazy to me. They still came second. Like, the Cronulla Sharks still came second. And just a reminder that without Nicho Hynes last year, they didn't even make the eight. They came ninth. The Titans came eighth. The Knights came seventh. The Sharks ended up coming ninth. So, I think that it's pretty clear to me what Nicho Hynes has done for the Sharks team. I think he would. I had a lot of reservations. I said before the season started that I didn't necessarily think he was going to translate because Storm players don't normally translate, but he did. He just simply did, and I've got him in quality, man. I think he's a very good player. I don't think he's in the lead, obviously, but he's got a Dally M to his name now, and I just think that. Do you understand what I mean when I say this is the most disrespectful Dally M winner I probably ever
Yeah,
seen?
I'd go level pegging with Jack White in 2020.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
I feel like that was controversial and that was a bit, but yeah, we won't talk about that one. But Nicho Hynes, like I love his story, love his background, love that he's tried so hard at Melbourne Storm. Like he was like what third or fourth string fullback, and then became a halfback, and then wasn't even playing that much halfback at all at Melbourne. Just goes.
I think he mainly played 5'8" when Munster was gone too.
Yeah, that's right. And then he's just come in and won Dally M and been the best halfback from the start. Look, I'm massive on Supercoach, which obviously doesn't tell the full story, but I didn't pick him at the start of the year. I ended up winning my comp, which was all good in the end, but I had to struggle to get him in my team because of how expensive he became, because everyone was getting Nicho Hynes. Why is that? Because he was doing everything.
Exactly right.
Kicking goals, try assists, line break assists, absolutely everything. He was just killing it from the start. And it's just a testament to the person he is, because to leave Melbourne Storm, no one expected him to go as well as what he did. I don't think anyone did. But he believed in himself, and clearly the Sharks backed him. Look, Nicho, if he produces another year like what he did last year, if he produces that again this year, I think going into next year, bold call, but like I'll put him at the back end of elite. But for going into
if he
this
does
season,
it again,
yeah. But going into this season, he's definitely quality. And having a look at everyone there, I've got him at the front of quality. I know it's one season to go off. But if you look at the teams that everyone's in, right? Ben Hunt, Mitchell Moses, look at all those teams, everyone in quality. Sharks will finish above them this year, and it will be because of Nicho Hynes. They don't have the most outstanding team. They've got a good team, but it's not exceptional. It's not a Sydney Roosters, Penrith Panthers side. I think he's at the top of quality.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's either above Hunt or below Hunt. That's the guy that I'm looking at here. It really is difficult. I think that this will be probably out of all the lists, there's always one that people find the most controversial. I think that out of all the lists, this will be the one that people probably pinpoint the most. I'm going to agree with you as well based on age, because obviously Ben Hunt's also coming towards the end of his career. And the fact of the matter is that Nicho Hynes did win the Dally M last year, and Ben Hunt was the guy he was going up against. And although it was because he was in a losing team compared to the winning team of the Sharks, I think that Nicho Hynes, there's a bit more about him going into this year. And also, he is in that good team, as I said. So he has more reign to really, especially the fact that, as you said, the Sharks team isn't incredible. It doesn't look incredible. And I don't actually believe that they've got a premiership winning side, which is a controversial thing to say. I do not think the Sharks have a premiership winning side, but I do think they are still a competitive side on a very large level, and they'll still go decently. But I have hesitancies about the actual full term length of it all. But they did compete with the Panthers for a decent bit for the first 60 minutes or so in their game. Yeah,
that's
I'll agree
right.
with you. I'll agree with you that Nicho Hynes goes top of quality. I think people might put him lower. But with that being said, we're happy with it. So you Muppets in the comment section, go for gold, man. Go for gold.
Just one last take on that, right? If you look at everyone in quality and you look at the Cronulla Sharks team without Nicho Hynes, right? And then you say pick one player to jump in that Sharks team and take them to the top 4, I'd go Nicho Hynes over anyone in that quality list, and that's why I've got him at number 1.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Yeah, I would.
It would be close with Hunt, but I still think the attacking ability and the way that he can just turn a game,
I
and
think
consistently
Moses
turn a
is
game.
one I would also look at too. In regards to the question specifically that you've just asked, I would also look at Moses. But yes, I think that I put Nicho Hynes above those two in that question. And that's the weird thing with these team makers as well, is that sometimes you can feel like Moses deserves to be below Reynolds there, but also think in another question related to Nicho Hynes here that you could actually think of him as, with Ben Hunt, Moses, and Hynes. It's weird how team makers work sometimes, but I am happy with where Moses is. But yeah, no, I agree. We'll put Nicho Hynes there at the top of quality. And like I said before, I'm happy that there's a whole heap of really good halfbacks at the moment. We'll get to the final 5 here. I'm going to give you the free reign for this one because obviously he's your boy, Sammy Walker from the Roosters. What's your thoughts?
Sam Walker, absolutely love him. For someone who's so young to come into, one of the oldest, there's a big debate. What's the oldest club? Roosters, Rabbitohs. Rabbitohs were established a little bit before us, but then they got kicked out for a year, whatever. I'm going to say we're the oldest club in the comp. Arguably one of the most successful clubs too. For Sam Walker to come in and just do what he's done, it's just been exceptional. A lot of people have said, he's a small body, he can't tackle. You saw his defense improve massively, just immensely in the back end of the year last year. I think attacking wise, he's one of the most exciting halfbacks to watch. And when you're often the most exciting to watch in certain aspects of the game, it leaves a lot of room for error, which is why I won't be biased here and I won't say he's in the quality range. I definitely think one more solid season. When I say solid, I mean reflective of the last year and the year before. One more solid season, and I'm happy to put him in the back end of quality. But at the moment, I'm confident Sam Walker can do a job. I know Robbo played around with him and Kieran, and I think he's realised, us Roosters fans and members were screaming for so long. Walker 7, Kieran 6. If we go into a full year next year of Walker 7, Kieran 6, we'll really see him stand up as a 7 and kind of control the game a bit more. I mean, he wasn't the best at goal kicking, but that improved a little bit. If it improves a bit more and we see a bit more of a kicking game and a long-term 80-minute game from him, I think we can push him in the quality over, maybe next season. But at the moment, I've got him in the do the job category. That's I feel like that's as fair as I can be. And I would put him above Ilias for sure. It's just I want to hear your opinion on whether or not you'd put him in front of Fogarty, or if you think I'm gassing him up too much.
No, I'd put him in front of Fogarty. I would. I'll put him at the top of do the job. For everyone who was watching there, when I put him here, I didn't actually mean to do that. I meant to put him right here. I think that I like the excitement potential from Sam Walker. And this is a very, this is always opinion based, but this is very opinion and individually perspective that I think that Sam Walker is a more exciting player to watch, which is always going to gravitate people to put him higher, rather than Fogarty, who is a, bare basics, going to do the job, kind of literally do the job halfback. I think Sam Walker has so much potential. He's still really, really young, obviously, and he is in this Roosters setup with a fantastic coach in Trent Robbo. I think that he has the ability to move on into that quality section. For the time being, he definitely is still going to be down there because he does still need to prove himself a decent bit. I still think there is a decent chunk that he needs to prove himself with, especially with the fact that he's probably in line for that 7 jersey for Queensland as well. And a lot of Queenslanders, including myself, obviously, you can talk on behalf of Roosters. I'll talk on behalf of Queensland here. I'm not necessarily confident that he's the guy to take us forward right at this very second. So, going from a really, who Terry Evans, who has been a phenomenal half, has been an elite half in his time, going to Sam Walker, there's still so many questions that I have, but I do think this next year, because Terry will still be the halfback this year, in my opinion. But then
same.
2024, I think, will be the turning over of the page, and we'll see Sam Walker there. So I hope that this year is the big, turning point in regards to my confidence in him. But we all know for a very long time that he has had that ability. And, I back him in. I back him in. So I'd put him above Jamal Fogarty.
Yep. Same here. I'm happy with that.
There we go. Of course, you're happy with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be happy with that one. All right, so we've got the last four here, and we go back to the Dolphins, the Wish version of the Gold Coast Redcliffe, even though they're not even called Redcliffe. We don't even know where they're from, Muppets. Shaun O'Sullivan here, who was at the Panthers, wasn't going to get a crack because obviously Cleary. Also, not necessarily bolstered on long term. Could start with the gig, but I do think that Isaiya Katoa is going to really push. I think he's going to really push for that spot, and I believe that Isaiya Katoa is the better player there. I do. Shaun O'Sullivan for me. I don't know how many games has he actually played. Is actually a good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He played a couple this year and a couple the year before, filling in for Cleary. But yeah, just a handful of games. I've still got him as unproven. Similar situation with Jakob Arthur there, although I do rate him higher than Jakob Arthur. I feel like they try to make him as a clone of Cleary. It's pretty obvious what they're trying to do at Penrith, just clone the players so that they're consistently at that level. But once they get broken, might be a long time. I feel like that plan will kind of, fizzle out. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Just like a story for another time is why the Dolphins shouldn't be in the comp next year. Way too soon. But I've got him unproven, and I'll put him second in unproven. Only because Katoa is just looking like such a freak. Like, he's so freaky. Like, watching him play, everything's just so silky smooth. Like, it's like he's got the ball on a string at such a young age.
Yeah, I absolutely was going to put Shaun O'Sullivan there because, like I just said, I think that Isaiya Katoa is the better guy going forward. And I think that Shaun O'Sullivan will start in the 7 role for the Dolphins. But I think that Isaiya Katoa will, take over. And I think that Isaiya Katoa can also play 6. It depends on who plays worse between him and whether it be Shaun O'Sullivan who plays worse or obviously Anthony Milford, who's, it's always Milford's fault. So, if people don't understand that joke, we have a joke on the channel that it's always Milford's fault because at the Broncos, if he was playing, it was Milford's fault. If he wasn't playing, it was still Milford's fault because he wasn't playing. And it just has been a running joke that no matter what he does, it's always his fault. He has been a good player in the past. But anyway, that's a conversation for a 5'8". Look, Shaun O'Sullivan is decent. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that I've seen a great deal from him anyway when he was at the Panthers. I think that he just did what he needed to do at the time. I think there's not been enough time. So unproven, but definitely above Jakob Arthur. Yeah, definitely above Jakob Arthur. All right, we've got final 3 to go here, and a player that has probably been an elite at some point, maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago, Shaun Johnson of the New Zealand Warriors. He's been a bit of a journeyman. But he has been back at the Warriors for the last year. And unfortunately for Shawnee J, I've absolutely loved this man's career. I think everyone's absolutely loved this man's career. However, unfortunately, it's coming to that point now where his age has caught up to him. His main focal point of why he was such a good player was the fact that he was nifty. He had that step on him. He had that pace on him. He could just change the game like that. Unfortunately, due to his age now, he doesn't have that ability and also just isn't in a good setup. Like, he just doesn't have a good team around him either. But at the Sharks, you could see that it was starting to come down a little bit on him as well. They were still a very attacking team when he was at the Sharkies. But yeah, look, for me, unfortunately, nowadays, I would be putting Shaun Johnson into the not that great section.
I thought I was going to get roasted from you and probably from the chat and comment section when this comes out for putting him in not that great. I thought I was going to get I thought I was going to get harassed there, but I've definitely got him in not that great. So many people still speak so highly of Shaun Johnson. Like me, I'm 21 years old.
Nostalgia.
Right? So it is. Like, growing up as a kid, I was watching Shaun Johnson in his prime when I was absolutely loving rugby league. That 2011 grand final and took them to the final against Manly. That was incredible. And then just watching him and then watching the Auckland Nines as well at the start, like the shimmy, the sidestep, the pass, look one way, pass the other way. It was unbelievable. The chip and chase, everything. But over the years, his body's deteriorated. He's gotten older, fair few injuries, a bit of a journeyman now that you've said, and I don't really like that word, but it's a fair description. I'm not confident going into the season that he can do the job. And because I'm not confident that he can do the job, I have to put him in the category below. I'd put him, we're looking at not that great. I'd still take him over Kieran Foran, but I could see why you might put him between him and Brooks if that's where you were thinking he was going.
I probably would think more so in between him and Brooks. I don't mind if we want to put him above Kieran Foran, but I don't know. Shaun Johnson is, like I said, his whole play style is based around the pace that he once had and the niftiness and that step that he had. And I don't think his kicking game is as good as it has been in the past. And I just don't see much there. At least with Kieran Foran, I would expect a little bit more stability. I don't necessarily. I've never looked at Shaun Johnson as stability. I've seen him as enigmatic. You never know what's going to come next.
Yeah,
so I think that's the negative that I would have there. So I would argue, yeah, definitely above Brooks, but I would probably still put him below.
Yeah. If you want to keep Kieran Foran first, that's fine by me. For me, it's flip of the coin stuff between the two. The only reason why I'd put him there is I just feel like he's in a bit of a better position. I mean, Foran going to a new club, I'm not sure where he's going to fit in and how he's going to go. That's why I was a bit worried or skeptical, might have put him at 2 and Shaun Johnson at 1. But then if you look at him, Foran is more of a mature player. When I say mature, it's not necessarily age. It's just, I feel like if you're looking at it from a statistical point of view, the way he directs it is just slightly above.
I think for everyone in the chat, they're basically on top of each other. Everyone in the comment section, they're basically on top of each other. Maybe we'll put Shaun Johnson above just because he will get the 7 role and Kieran won't get the 7 role. He'll be the 6, in my personal opinion. So I think that's where we'll separate them. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Warriors. Well, the Titans will be relying on Kieran, but just in another position, which is still similar. But the Warriors will be relying on Shaun Johnson in the 7, which is the whole point of this video. So I guess that's how we'll differentiate them. But they're both still not that great. So it is what it is.
They can hold hands in that position. That's all good.
Yeah, give each other a kiss and a cuddle. Yeah, it's just what it is. But we've got the last 2 guys here, and we saved the best for last. We have saved the best for last. We've got the Gold Coast Titans boys, and it is Tanah Boyd, who is the second last to go here. Tanah is a really hard one for me because, and the thing is, I will put a disclaimer out here too, guys. I am good friends with both of these guys. I know these guys, from obviously all my interactions with the club. I know these guys well. So it is hard for me to talk about this publicly because I don't want to say anything disrespectful. But in the same sense, I do still have a duty with my channel to give you guys the honest truth in regards to my personal opinion. So in regards to Tanah, I think that he had a fantastic finish to the season last year, and he was finally given the reins. Like, obviously, we had in the 7 back in 2021 was mainly Jamal Fogarty, and then later on was Toby. And then in 2022, for the most part, it was Toby. And then eventually we saw Tanah come in there. But overall, he's never really been given that full-on opportunity and was actually being given a bit of a hooker role originally, which he just really isn't. When he played, I saw something from him, man. He's a hard worker. I know he puts the effort in on the training grounds, and I know he really does, love this club. And I would love to put him, I personally would love to put him at the very, very bottom of do the job, because I just think that, I think it's because of what I know from him. But in the same sense, I'd like to hear your opinion, because it could also be biased.
Yeah, my opinion on him, look, it's tough. I'm looking at the people in the do the job section. I'm thinking, does he do the job? Towards the back end of the year, he did the job, but I'm just not sure. Like, where does the club see him? It's all about where the club sees him and whether or not he's the halfback to go with. It'd be interesting because there's 2 Titans players left. Did you want to talk about both of them at once? Because my opinion on one kind of relies on the other, if that makes sense.
We may as well. Yeah, we may as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to go
Toby
on?
Sexton.
Yeah, you keep. Yeah, the other one is obviously Toby Sexton, guys. So we've got Tanah Boyd and Toby Sexton, and both these guys are effectively fighting out for that 7 role, in my opinion. Yeah. So you say what you want to say.
In my opinion too. Okay, sweet. Well, since I'm not a Gold Coast Titans fan, I'm clearly going to be a little bit more critical, right? Perfect. And I'm not mates with them, don't know them personally whatsoever. Having a look at both of them on face value, it's very, very neck and neck. And then I've watched Toby Sexton play very closely last season, only because I had so many mates that were just bagging him out saying, oh, look at Gold Coast, I'll never get solid halves, whatever. And I looked at him, I'm like, this guy's short kicking game is exceptional. He was forcing line dropouts. He was creating pressure near the line, like inside 20 meters. I want Sexton in my team.
Number 1 for forced line dropout. Number 1 for forced dropouts until obviously the last part of the season where Justin decided to go with Tanah for a bit, but he would have finished as the number 1 of the game for forced dropouts. Is Toby Sexton.
Inside 20 meters, he was dangerous. He was absolutely lethal. I feel like he really thinks about the games, like seeing him bark instructions on the field. I've seen him kind of direct people and speak more on the field than I have with Tanah Boyd. But I could be wrong, could be a bit closer there. But I feel like Sexton, he really wants to take control of the team. And you want someone in number 7 position who can take control of the team, force those line dropouts, build the pressure. I feel like Sexton's the man for the job. That's why I'm going with him slightly over Tanah Boyd. I feel like Boyd is a more versatile player and is someone that maybe you could have. I don't see him as a 9, but I could see him as a 14. And I feel like his versatility might affect him a bit because I think Sexton's an out-and-out 7 compared to Tanah Boyd. That's why I've got Sexton above him for the 7 jersey this year and slightly above him on that list. And I hope that made sense. And I hope to see more of both of them to form a probably better opinion. But so far, I've got Sexton ahead.
Before I jump in with mine, where would you put them?
Okay, I'm having a look at where I'll
say what I'll say,
yeah.
and then obviously you can jump where you put them because obviously it'll clarify a few more things. So I think that Toby is going to be the 7 this year, and the reason is because Toby. I've said this on the streams a lot of times, and I tell these people all the time. Toby was very, very good in 2021. Everyone loved him because he was playing alongside an experienced half in Ash Taylor, who obviously never really got to live up to the expectations of the Gold Coast as we all expected. But when he had an experienced half alongside him, he was absolutely killing it. And everyone was really looking forward to what he could produce in 2022. Then obviously 2022 comes around and obviously Ash went to the Warriors and medically retired. We didn't have Jamal Fogarty because he went down to the Raiders. So we have AJ Brimson who comes into that 6th spot. Now, AJ Brimson, not a 5'8". He's a fullback for me. I love Brimdog Millionaire, but for me, he's a fullback, even though he had a pretty good end of the season at the 5'8" role. Toby comes in that 7. He doesn't have an experienced partner there. He's got a lot of pressure on him. We've thrown this young team, a completely young team. The average of the team is like 22. David Fee is 22. Tino is like 22. AJ is still quite young. Toby, he's he's really, really young. The whole team was just basically still coming out of the womb, and we threw them to the fire. And the halfback position is such an integral position, and also our 9, Aaron Clark. I've spoken with Aaron about this many times. He's not really a 9. He's a lock, and he's been playing great in that lock position towards the end of the year, and also for the most part. So when we actually moved him across, so there was too much going on there for Toby to actually be the guy that we could see from that 2021 season. Then Kieran Foran was actually signed, in my belief, at the time to partner Toby, who was going to be in the 7. But because the season kept dragging on, the losses just kept coming. Unfortunately, Toby was losing a lot of confidence. And, I know Toby is a confidence-driven guy. He needs to be confident himself to be successful. That's when they went and signed Kieran Foran. But unfortunately, Toby got dropped. Tanah comes in, gets those results. But I still think, personally, don't know the answer to this, but I still think Toby will get that 7 and Kieran Foran will come in. And I do genuinely believe that they're going to work out together. I really think that Toby is going to become the player that we know that he could be and can be. And he really does deserve it, man. He really puts in everything. It just hasn't worked out for him. I saw him after that Knights game, down there in Newcastle. He came over and he was emotional as it's just, he puts his everything on the line, but just hasn't worked out for him so far. So, yeah, I think that I would personally put Toby above Tanah, but I also think that, Tanah is a hard worker and maybe more of a utility role because I just think I would rather put a little bit more belief in Toby for the first part of the season to maybe get what we saw out of that 2021 year.
Yeah, there's no doubt that Tanah's a hard worker. I definitely see him as a utility as well. That's why in terms of, look, I really wish there was a category between not that great and do the job, but then that would make this way too easy. Because that's exactly where I put Toby Sexton.
By the way, if you want to put one of them, or them are not that great, you can criticize them. I'm okay, man. It is, it is what it is. If you wanted to, you don't need to feel sorry for me. If that
definitely don't feel sorry for them. But I'm happy to be quite critical. But like I said, Toby Sexton, I like him attacking at the line. I like the way he's directing the team around the field, even though they weren't too successful. I can see confidence in a young man like himself. Like you said, he needs someone else to build that confidence and be the best, right? If he's already like this and he's already telling people go here, go there, I think his short kicking game is exceptional. Imagine when he does have someone like Foran, hopefully Foran plays 6, that'll take his game to the next level.
And I feel like,
yeah, exactly. I feel like with more stability around him, he'll have a better year. And based off what I saw last year, I'm happy to put him at the back of do the job because I think it would be really criminal to put him in not that great. Whereas Tanah Boyd, if we're talking about 7, like being a halfback, which this video is about, I'd put him at looking at not that great, who's the front? Okay, I'd put Tanah Boyd between Luke Brooks and Kieran Foran. If it was about utility role, I'd definitely say he can do the job. But in terms of 7, I'd put him between Brooks and Foran, and I'd put Sexton behind Jackson Hastings.
Yeah, I do like that assessment. I like that assessment. Like I just with Tanah Boyd, yeah, he did have that end of season, but I think for him to jump up a bit more, at least with Toby, we did see at points some really quality. I don't know, but we saw it from Tanah too. I agree with you, and I think that because obviously coming from that non-biased perspective that you've got, I'm pretty happy to make that assessment because I do have such high belief in Toby. But if it didn't work out with Toby, I think that Tanah really is actually a do the job. I think that he does get the job done. As you saw with the 3 wins from the last 4. However, those last 3 wins out of the last 4 games were against the Knights, a horrible Manly side where I absolutely slapped up Josh Schuster from the sideline. I'm still his daddy, and he knows it. And then and then we've spoken about it too. And then the Dragons game, we got slapped. But then we went over to New Zealand as well, and we came back, and he kicked the winning field goal too. Like he had that moment to avoid. So it's a really difficult predicament here. This is going to be the year for both these guys. I do think that the comments are going to say that Toby Sexton's not that great, and I guarantee you most of them will be Titans fans who put him at the bottom and not that great. If you say that, I understand. I really do. I understand why you do it. It's a controversial selection, but if you actually watch the game and you actually see for all parts of what he's done from the end of 2021 until, even in that Parramatta game to start off with, and in games, he needs experience alongside him. And Kieran Foran comes in, he'll be in the 5'8", get Toby in there, and we're going to win the premiership, Abby, and you know it. And you know it. We're winning the premiership. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But look, overall, I think we've done a pretty good list here.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we didn't really disagree too much, which I thought would disagree a fair bit with the halfback position, but pretty good. And I'm just glad that we're going to get I feel like we're going to get a great year of footy because of the amount of people we've got in that quality section, and then we've got a couple pushing for the elite, and then a couple of the young guns already in the do the job section. So
I think that the best thing for me here, looking at this list, is that if you actually look at the not that great section, one, Kieran Foran is not going to play in the 7, so you can kind of remove him from this list. Tanah Boyd is more than not likely not going to play in that 7, and if he did, like I said, I genuinely believe he'd be in a similar position to Toby, just not with that ceiling that I believe Toby has. Luke Brooks, Muppet. Carl Flanagan, Muppet, and Shaun Johnson, it's just coming down to the age factor.
He's about to retire. Yeah.
There's not really bad halfbacks at the moment besides, kind of Muppet Man number 1 and Muppet Man number 2. But with that being said, I know that if you are an NRL player, guys, if you are an NRL player, that means that you do have the ability. You just need to utilize me calling you a Muppet and motivate yourself. But I don't think there's a great
push yourself
deal.
To that elite bracket.
Exactly right. If there was one pick here out of the entire list that you think is the most controversial in regards to, the general consensus fans who may not, well, they probably do watch rugby league. I'm not going to discredit them. What would you say is the most potentially controversial pick here?
Me?
Yes, you. Yeah.
For the average fan, you're saying?
Yeah. What would you say from what we've put here is the most contentious kind of pick?
Most contentious pick, probably the Sexton doing the job, because maybe people don't think he's capable of doing the job because they didn't see him towards the later stages of the year. That's what I'd put. But I'm well, he wasn't like.
You mean the late stages of the year of 2021 is what you would be referring to there, because obviously he didn't play the late of 2022. Yeah, what were we going to say
exactly.
after that?
I was saying I've seen enough from him that I just know when he's got a decent spine around him, he's above every player that we've got below him. That's why he's sitting where he is.
I'm so glad that I've got you to do the halfback section, because I guarantee you that 99% of other people would not have given him any credit whatsoever, and I would have had to argue that. But no, it's good. I think for pretty much all of these, we're on a very similar wavelength, and I think that if it wasn't for Toby, maybe Nicho Hynes is a controversial one, because I think a lot of people also discredit him, or because of the Daly factor, they might bump him up. But I think that overall, it's a very good list. Not too much to disagree with, but guys, jump in the comment section. Let us know your list. I'm really looking forward to it. But Norman, mate, we absolutely smashed it. Let everyone know where they can find you on Sportshed.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for having me on. First of all, that was good fun. Hope you guys like the list. If you disagree, let us know. I'd be keen to hear about your opinions. Find us at SportshedTV, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Charity match this Saturday, Lidcombe Oval. Get your tickets. Links in our bio. The link will be in this description too, I'm sure. $10 a ticket. It's pretty cheap. You get to watch 3 games of footy and raise much needed funds for Mark Hughes Foundation and Ronald McDonald House charities, Greater Western Sydney. So, keen for a big year of footy, and hopefully the Roosters win the comp. I'm backing a Roosters Penrith final.
No, you're not. You're back in the Titans versus no one cares final, because that's what everyone everyone's thinking. But no, yeah, I can't wait for this charity match, obviously. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I will be commentating the event, guys. We will be commentating the event, so you'll be able to, if you're not going to the game, you will be able to watch it. But do get down there. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a fantastic day there. Hopefully the weather is fantastic down there at Lidcombe Oval. And yeah, as we said, only $10 tickets. You'll get to meet other content creators like myself, the Sportshed boys, John Bernard. Actually, rattle through some of the boys that are going to be competing.
Yeah, Olan Tekers, Jordan Simi will be there. Shaq TV is also massive. We've got Mahmoud and Moses from the Levy podcast, Funny Boys. It's going to be awesome. Ted Statics as well. We've got a few ex-players who are going to just be there to support. I think Jason Nightingale will be there, Hazem El Masri.
Hazem's coming down.
Current players. Yeah, he's a bit injured at the moment, so we were trying to get a couple of ex-players to play, but he's a bit injured at the moment, but he'll come down and show some love, he said. And we've got a couple of current players too. Kennedy Charrington, she's massive in the women's game, and she's massive on social media too. She'll be there. Jakob Karaz from the Bulldogs. So
I wish it was on the Gold Coast, man, because I know that the Titans boys, I'll be able to get the Titans boys down there. But obviously, and this is something that I was going to say as well, is that, guys, go there because it's a week before the start of the NRL season. Like, literally 1 week before the start of the season. It's basically
there's no footy on.
There's no footy on. We've already had the preseason by that point. It's already all done and dusted. You get down there, support our community, because that's the main thing. It's like, yes, okay, go down and look, it's not going to be the greatest footy. Let's not lie. Like, everyone's going to be having a good laugh. We're going to see Jason David run up against John Bernard. Like, good luck,
It'll be fantastic. Look, you'll see your favorite creators, right? And if there's anyone there that you can't stand, you'll see them get smashed as well. So it's a win-win.
But
you're raising money for charity, and then afterwards you get to meet everyone.
Yeah, you're raising money for charity, but the thing is that if you don't like me, well, unfortunately for you, I can't actually play, so I'm not going to get smashed. So you can shut your mouth. But no, look, guys, get there Saturday. Fantastic, $10 tickets. The link is in the description, and also the link is in the pinned comment there. But yeah, there you go, guys. Go chuck SportshedTV. Follow on YouTube, also Facebook and Instagram. TikTok and Instagram. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, you're a Muppet. Smack that thumbs up button, and obviously subscribe if you are new around here. We pretty much stream every single NRL game except for Titans game, because I will be at every single Titans game this year, vlogging it, as you guys know. It's going to be a big year, bounce back year, redemption season, baby. You better believe it. Enough of this ambush nonsense from the Broncos. It's redemption season for the Titans. I'm so keen for that. So thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Catch you later.
See ya.